everyone, and welcome to the Trucking Tower podcast. I'm very excited to be joined today by Sarah Barnes Humphrey, who is the founder and host of Let's Talk Supply Chain and the CEO of Ships. How are you doing today, Sarah?
I am doing awesome. I don't know when this is going to be released, but it's Friday today, which means that we are kicking off the weekend. And I don't know how you cannot be good on a Friday. Just saying.
Absolutely. Happy Friday. I'm going to brag on Sarah for a second here. So she was awarded the Startup of the Year for Ships and also named by IBM and Supply Chain Digital as a top 100 woman in supply chain. So kudos for those accomplishments.
Thank you. Yeah, it's all very exciting. It's all happened in the last couple of months. There's been a top 10 list as well of influencers to watch by Una. And so it's been a crazy couple of months and I couldn't be more excited.
Well, that's awesome. You must be doing something right. So
something. They haven't told me what yet, but something.
Well, no, I've read about your awards and, you're being noticed and recognized for things that you're doing. So on that front, can you give us a 1 minute elevator pitch on Let's Talk Supply Chain and Ships?
Yeah, 1 minute for both. Okay. So Let's Talk Supply Chain is a podcast and digital content company. So we release an episode of the podcast every Monday. We also do podcast mini series and all sorts of fun stuff. We're media partners and we host all sorts of things. We also have the Blended podcast, which is our new series about diversity and inclusion. And we get real, raw, and authentic about those kind of topics. And so that's our newest series on Let's Talk Supply Chain. And Ships is a bid and ship marketplace for importers and exporters and freight forwarders focused on air and ocean freight so that they can do better business together.
Very good.
How long was that?
I don't know. I didn't time it, but that was a lot in about a minute, I'd say. So that's spot on elevator pitch right there. So, a lot of my connections are involved in global shipping. So that runs across rail, ocean, air, maritime, and trucking, of course. And I was really looking forward to having you on with me. We were talking before the recording, and I learned about an awesome story involving you and how supply chain is in your blood. And you started at a family business, and you had to persevere to get to where you are today. Can you tell us about that?
Yeah. Do I have more than a minute?
Yes.
Okay, awesome. So right out of high school, I went into the family business and it was a private 3PL just outside of Toronto, my dad's business. And I did all of my diplomas and designations by correspondence while I was getting hands-on experience. And so I was in operations for a very long time. I did trucking, I did air freight, ocean freight, warehousing, customs, you name it. I had my hands in all of it and I loved it. But because it was a family business, we've been talking about supply chain and logistics ever since I could remember at the family dinner table. And that's why I say supply chain is in my blood, because we've been talking about it since I could remember. After operations, I went into sales. And so I sold all of those services for about 8 years. And then I ended up as director of sales and marketing. And, two things happened that year. One was I decided that technology was the only thing that was going to be able to solve the friction between freight forwarders and importers and exporters, because there was numerous challenges on both sides and technology was going to bring them together. And I decided that I wanted to be part of that. And so we, set our sales out on ships and we were building that, in the background. And the other thing was I realized that we needed somewhere to tell our brand story as a 3PL. And I was listening to a lot of podcasts at the time. And if anybody has seen me on a show before, they know that I always say, well, if Lewis Howes can have a podcast, why can't Sarah Barnes Humphrey? So I decided that year to kick off a podcast. I had a male co-host. We called it Two Babes Talk Supply Chain because I was tired of all the stuffy, stuff that was in the industry at the time. And we wanted to push the boundaries to see how far we could go. And the rest is kind of history. I mean, I started, making money in the podcast. And unfortunately in 2017, my dad closed his doors. And so I was out on my butt after 20 years with nowhere to go, but I had paying customers on the podcast. So I kept it going And in January 2018, we started the Woman in Supply Chain series. And by April 2018, they did not resonate with the name anymore. So I made the big decision to rebrand to Let's Talk Supply Chain. And like I said, the rest is kind of history.
Very good. Well, I've seen some of your podcasting. You do a fantastic job, and
Thank you.
everybody needs to check out your podcast as well. So, unrelated to business, what is one thing people probably don't know about you that they may be surprised to learn about you?
There's probably a lot, but we'll go with the fact that I've been on live TV with Denise Richards twice.
Oh, very nice. Wow. So, how did that come about?
Well, so I've always been terrified of public speaking.
Oh, really?
Yeah. And every time I thought about Toastmasters, because everybody was like, you need to go to Toastmasters, my palms would be so sweaty. And I was like, I cannot even think about walking into that room.
Right.
And so I went a different route. I got a talent agent. And I went on auditions, and it wasn't something that I wanted out of my career. Like, I didn't want to be an actress. And I got yelled out of so many audition rooms because I was really not very good. I just needed to get out of my shell and get used to, trying to talk in front of people and talk in front of the camera and all of that kind of stuff. And so I ended up on the home shopping channel here in Toronto. And it was for Denise Richards' hair care products. She had a hair care line at the time.
Okay.
And so I ended up there with her. And then they liked me so much from that, they brought me back to be on the breakfast television in the morning, like the news show that we have around here, to also be the hair model for that as well.
Very nice.
Yeah.
So that'll get you over your fear of public speaking real quick.
Well, I still have a little bit of it. I'm not going to lie. Like I get really nervous.
At least it gets easier, a little bit easier with time. So what else are you working on these days that maybe you would like to mention?
Well, we are working on actually quite a few big announcements for this year, which I cannot share with you just yet, but they are going to be pretty cool. We're obviously growing ships and working on making the most out of the market with the technology and bringing freight forwarders and shippers together. We've also pivoted to include a white label option for freight forwarders as well to our platform. So that's really exciting. Blended is still in its infancy stage. We are just coming out with episode 6 this month. But it's being really well received, right? We're getting a lot of really great feedback about it because we're getting raw and honest and authentic about and deep about diversity and inclusion topics. So that's really a push for us this year as well. So some that I can talk about and some that I can't talk about just yet.
I'm kind of in the same boat. I've got some software coming out in April and I can't even talk about it because it's in a patent process. So, well, that's awesome. What's the best way for people to connect with you?
So many ways. So we've got Let's Talk Supply Chain on LinkedIn, Twitter, Facebook, Instagram. We also have TikTok. So if you're the next generation of supply chain, please go and check out my Let's Talk Supply Chain TikTok because we're doing some amazing things there. We're also featuring the next generation in supply chain. So if you want to get involved, reach out to us and let us know. We've got ships on all those platforms. I'm Sarah Barnes Humphrey on most of those platforms. I'm also Be Victorious. So let's talk supplychain.com, ships.com. I mean, there are so many ways that you can get in touch and connect with me. And I'd love to connect with everybody.
Well, I really do appreciate you coming on today. You've got a lot of awesome things going on, and I really do appreciate you just spending some time with me. And I'll, of course, include your contact information there in the video. And that's going to do it for this edition of the Trucking Tower podcast. Have a good day. We'll see you soon.
Thanks for having me. Bye, everyone.